The morning Mom was gone, everything felt off. Like the house itself knew something was missing. Her favorite mug sat untouched on the kitchen counter. The scent of her perfume still hung faintly in the air, and the silence was louder than anything I'd ever heard. I was only 14, and nothing in my world had ever made sense without her in it. Dad didn't say much that day. He just stood by the window, arms crossed, staring out like he was waiting for her to walk back through the front door. But she didn't. Everyone kept asking the same questions. Where did she go? Was there a fight? Did she leave on her own? But the one question no one dared to ask out loud was the one that haunted me the most. Why didn't she say goodbye? The confusion turned into whispers, and the whispers turned into rumors. Some said she ran away. Others thought something worse. But no one really knew the truth. Not even me. Days turned into weeks, and slowly, things started changing. Not just outside, but inside our home. Dad became different, colder, quieter. He would stay out late, avoid eye contact, and speak only when necessary. There were nights I'd hear him pacing the hallway, talking to himself in hushed tones, almost like he was practicing something he didn't want anyone else to hear. Then one night, he sat me down at the kitchen table. His hands were shaking, his face pale. He said there was something I needed to know, something about Mom, about the life we had before she left. That moment changed everything I believed about my family, and nothing could have prepared me for what he was about to reveal. I remember how Dad's voice trembled when he finally spoke. It wasn't like him to be nervous. He was always calm, steady, the kind of person who could fix anything with a few quiet words. But that night, he couldn't even look me in the eye. He kept rubbing his hands together like he was cold, even though the kitchen was warm. He started by saying, "There are things you don't know about your mom, things I should have told you a long time ago." My heart started racing. I didn't say anything. I just listened. He talked about how things between him and Mom hadn't been perfect, that they had secrets they'd kept even from each other. I didn't understand what he meant at first, but then he said she had been afraid, that she'd been getting strange phone calls, that she had started locking her bedroom door at night, even when we were all home. He said she was always watching the windows like someone might show up. None of that made sense to me. Mom never seemed scared. She was always strong, always the one who made us feel safe. But the way Dad spoke, it was like she had been hiding something for a long time. He told me she'd asked him to promise something, that if anything ever happened to her, he wouldn't go to the police, that he would protect me and keep everything quiet. And for a while, he had done exactly that. Then he pulled out a small wooden box from the cabinet. It looked old and dusty, like it hadn't been touched in years. He said Mom gave it to him the night before she disappeared. "She told me not to open it unless you started asking questions," he said. "And now, you deserve to know." He placed the box in front of me, but I didn't open it. My hands were shaking. I didn't know what I was more afraid of, what was inside, or what it would change. Everything felt like it was shifting beneath my feet. For the first time, I realized that maybe Mom hadn't just left. Maybe she was running from something, or someone. I finally opened the box the next morning when the house was quiet and Dad had gone to work. My hands hesitated over the lid, as if touching it would somehow make everything real. Inside were a few folded papers, a photograph, and a tiny black flash drive. The photo was the first thing I looked at. It was of Mom standing next to a man I didn't recognize. They looked happy, like they were sharing an inside joke, but something about the man's face made my stomach twist. He had this uneasy smile, the kind that doesn't quite reach the eyes. On the back of the photo, written in Mom's handwriting, were the words, "If anything happens to me, start here." I picked up the papers next. One was a letter from Mom, addressed to me. It was written like she knew she might not be around to explain everything in person. She wrote about how she had once lived a life completely different from the one I knew. She never said the man in the photo's name, only that he was someone she trusted, until she couldn't. She said he became dangerous when she found out things she wasn't supposed to know. She didn't write what those things were, just that they had to do with money, lies, and something about a file she was keeping hidden. The more I read, the more confused I became. Why hadn't she told Dad any of this? Or had she, and he just didn't share it with me? The tension between them suddenly made more sense. Maybe they were trying to protect me in their own ways, but it only made the mystery harder to understand. I plugged the flash drive into my laptop, and my heart nearly stopped when the folder popped up. There were audio recordings, scanned documents, and even surveillance photos. It felt like something out of a spy movie. I clicked on one audio file. Mom's voice came through. Shaky, scared, nothing like how I remembered her. She talked about being followed, about someone trying to silence her. The last thing she said before the recording cut off was, "If he finds this, it's over." I pulled the headphones off, panic rising in my chest. Who was he? Was he the man in the photo? Was he still looking for her? And most of all, was he looking for me now? After hearing that recording, I couldn't think straight. Mom sounded so different. Scared, fragile, like she was running out of time. That wasn't the woman I remembered tucking me in every night or standing up to teachers when I got into trouble. That voice haunted me. I replayed the file over and over, trying to catch something I missed. A name, a background noise, anything that could give me a clue. But it always ended the same way, with her whispering, "If he finds this, it's over." For the next few days, I couldn't focus on anything else. I skipped school, made excuses to stay home, and kept diving deeper into the files on the flash drive. Each one only made things worse. There were emails between Mom and someone with a hidden identity. Most of the messages were filled with code words and half-finished thoughts, like they were being careful about who might be watching. One name came up more than once, though: the Hollow Point. I had no idea what it meant, but Mom had circled it in red on a scanned page of notes. I didn't want to tell Dad right away. I wasn't sure how much he actually knew, and part of me was afraid he might be hiding something too. But one evening I slipped and left the flash drive in the laptop. When he came home and saw it open, he froze. For a few seconds, we both just stood there, staring at each other. "Where did you find that?" he asked, his voice low. "In the box," I said. "The one Mom gave you." He looked away, rubbed his face with both hands, and let out a shaky breath. "You weren't supposed to see any of that." "Why?" I asked. "What are you protecting me from?" He didn't answer. Instead, he walked to the kitchen and poured himself a glass of water. The silence between us was heavy. Finally, he said, "There are people tied to this. Dangerous people. If they even suspect you know something, they won't stop. That's why I kept quiet. That's why she left." His words made my heart pound. She didn't just disappear. She ran. And not from us, but from whoever this Hollow Point was. Later that night, I got another clue. Someone left an envelope in our mailbox. No name, just a printed photo of me walking home from school, taken from across the street. On the back, a message was written in thick black ink: "Stop digging, or you're next." That was the moment it all changed. The fear I felt before turned into something else, something sharper. I realized this wasn't just about finding out what happened to Mom anymore. Someone was still out there watching us, trying to keep the truth buried. But they didn't know me. They didn't know how far I was willing to go for answers. And I wasn't going to stop now. I didn't sleep that night. I kept staring at the photo someone had taken of me, proof that I was being followed. Every shadow outside my window felt like it had eyes. I stayed up, scrolling through the files on the flash drive again, thinking maybe I missed something, anything. Then I noticed a folder I hadn't opened before. It was buried under layers of nested folders, labeled with random numbers and letters. When I clicked it open, I found a single video file. The timestamp on it was from 6 months before Mom disappeared. With shaking hands, I played it. The video was grainy but clear enough to recognize the setting. It was the park a few blocks from our house. Mom was sitting on a bench, her face tense, glancing around like she was waiting for someone. A man eventually approached her from behind and sat next to her. I recognized him instantly. It was the same man from the photograph in the box. But this time, he looked different. Older. Angrier. The audio was muffled, but I could make out a few words. "You promised." Then her voice, firmer than in the audio file I'd heard earlier. "I didn't agree to cover up what you did." My blood ran cold. Cover up? What did he do? And what had Mom found out that made her a target? I paused the video and rewound it, trying to catch more. That's when I noticed something I hadn't before. Behind the bench, across the path, there was someone else holding a phone up, recording them. The camera shifted briefly, and for just a second I saw the face. It was my dad. Everything around me seemed to stop. Why was he there? Why was he filming secretly? I didn't know what to think anymore. Was Dad trying to protect her? Or was he keeping track of her? My mind kept spinning, filled with questions that had no answers. I remembered the way he avoided talking about her, how he always changed the subject. And now I had proof that he had followed her, watched her when she didn't know. Or maybe she did know. Maybe that's why she asked him to keep everything hidden from the police. The next morning I confronted him. I didn't show the video, not yet. I just asked if he'd ever followed Mom. He froze, coffee mug halfway to his lips. "Why would you ask that?" "I just need the truth," I said, my voice barely steady. "Did you know where she went? Did you know who she was meeting?" He didn't deny it. He just sighed, set the mug down, and said, "There are things you're better off not knowing." But I wasn't going to stop now. Not when the truth was this close. Not when it was starting to look like the person I trusted most might be part of the very secret that tore our family apart. And then my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Your mom isn't dead." I stared at the message on my phone for what felt like hours. "Your mom isn't dead." My heart pounded louder than my thoughts. I tried calling the number back, but it didn't go through. I showed Dad the message, demanding answers, but he just turned pale and sat down slowly, like the ground had disappeared beneath him. He didn't speak right away. Then finally, in a low, broken voice, he said, "I didn't know if it was true. I only suspected." That confession hit me harder than anything else. He told me that after Mom disappeared, he received an anonymous letter a month later. It had no return address, only a photograph of her in what looked like a remote village, and a note that said, "She's safe for now, stay quiet." Dad had kept that letter all this time, afraid that digging further would put her, and now me, in danger. I didn't know what hurt more, the fact that she was alive, or the fact that he never told me. But the message I got was more recent, and it meant someone was watching, maybe even helping her. I went back through the flash drive, this time looking for any clues about the location in that video. One document had GPS coordinates. I entered them into my phone. It pointed to a small town miles away near the state border. Without thinking twice, I packed a bag and left before Dad could stop me. When I arrived, I recognized the house from the photo in the old letter. I walked up the porch steps with shaking legs, every part of me ready to fall apart. Then the door opened. She was standing there, my mom, alive, older, thinner, with lines of fear and exhaustion on her face. But it was her. I hugged her, sobbing, asking why. She whispered, "I had to disappear. I knew too much, and I couldn't let them find you." Just as we stepped inside, a loud knock hit the door behind us. A man's voice said, "It's time to finish what you started, Sarah." For a second, everything froze. My mom's hand clutched mine tightly, her eyes wide with fear. The knock came again, louder this time. She motioned for me to stay quiet and led me through the back door into the woods behind the house. We moved fast, the cold air sharp in our lungs. She had prepared for this moment. Hidden bags, emergency cash, and a route only she knew. All this time, she'd been surviving in silence, waiting for the right time to resurface. We made it to a small motel miles away before she finally told me everything. The man who had threatened her, the one in the photo and the recordings, was part of a powerful ring involved in financial fraud and blackmail. She had worked for a law firm that unknowingly represented them. When she discovered the truth and tried to blow the whistle, everything changed. They tried to silence her. That's when she faked her death with help from someone inside, a former client who owed her a favor. She never told Dad because she didn't know who to trust, but she admitted that the letter he received was from her, and she was relieved he hadn't ignored it. "He stayed quiet to protect you," she said, "and I've watched you grow from afar, every chance I got." Back home, I finally showed Dad the truth. At first, he didn't believe she was alive until he heard her voice on a call. The emotion in his face, the mix of shock, pain, and relief, said it all. We didn't fix everything overnight, but for the first time in years, we were honest. We were a family again, just trying to heal. Mom decided to testify anonymously, with new protection arranged by authorities. The case against the group she exposed was reopened, and several arrests were made. She couldn't return to her old life, but she didn't have to hide anymore either. Sometimes I think about that first night, when all I had were questions and fear. Now I carry answers, scars, and strength. Losing Mom once nearly broke me, but getting her back, even in pieces, helped me find who I really am. Some stories don't end with perfect closure, but they do end with truth, and that's enough.